I warned them. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Warnings like that get ignored. I warned them the way old diplomats do, with quiet sentences and uncomfortable pauses, with reports stamped low probability, high consequence. The council chamber was calm when the message arrived. That should have been the first sign. No alarms. No gravitational distortion alerts. Just a new object added to the star map, hovering where empty space had been a moment before. Earth orbit. No burn trail. No approach vector. It was simply present. The human vessel didn't match any known configuration. It wasn't large by dreadnought standards, but it had a wrongness to it, like a thought you can't quite remember having. Matte black, absorbing light instead of reflecting it. No visible weapons. No escorts. It sat above Earth like it was waiting for a bus. The generals began arguing immediately. The Krell wanted to seize the opportunity. The Vask demanded we force Earth into an alliance before the enemy could. They talked about leverage, population pressure, industrial capacity. They talked like humans were another minor power with flags and borders and something to lose. I cleared my throat and the room slowly quieted. Age still earns you that, sometimes. Earth is not neutral because they are weak, I said. They are neutral because they don't need us. That earned a few indulgent smiles. The kind you give an elder who's seen too much and now sees patterns that aren't there. I expected that. What I didn't expect was the data packet that followed. It wasn't encrypted. It wasn't aggressive. It was a courtesy transmission, automatically forwarded through every relay we controlled. A single line of text, translated into all council languages at once. Please resolve your conflict without involving our system. No signature. No threat. No explanation. Admiral Korvex laughed. A suggestion, he said. How polite. Polite. That word crawled under my skin. Polite is what you are when force is unnecessary. I asked for the historical archives. The long ones. The records nobody likes to review because they predate current borders and comfortable myths. Earth appeared there only a handful of times, always indirectly. Trade routes that curved away from Sol. Exploration probes that vanished and were quietly written off as navigational failures. One old war, centuries ago, that ended abruptly when both sides lost their entire fleets near an unremarkable yellow star. No victor. No debris field. Just absence. I stood and told them not to vote yet. I told them dragging Earth into our war would not give us an ally. It would give us an audience. The council thanked me for my concern and scheduled the vote anyway. I sat back down, feeling that slow, sick certainty settle in my chest. The human ship didn't move. It didn't have to. The vote passed while the human ship remained perfectly still. That detail mattered to me more than the outcome. Nothing that powerful waits without reason. Ambassador Realm was selected to deliver our invitation to Earth. He was young, confident, and loud in all the ways diplomacy should never be. He spoke about shared threats, mutual defense, the honor of standing together against aggression. He believed the war would make sense to them. Wars always make sense to those inside them. The reply came before his speech finished transmitting. Not an interruption. Not a hack. The human system simply responded faster than our words could travel. We understand, the human voice said. Female. Come. Unhurried. But we decline. That should have ended it. Declinations usually do. Instead, General Herrick leaned forward and ordered Realm to press harder. Economic incentives. Strategic necessity. Consequences. The words consequences echoed badly in the chamber. I felt it then, that same sensation you get when a floor panel hums beneath your feet just before it gives way. The human paused. I imagined she was considering how much explanation we deserved. Your conflict has already altered 12 trade corridors and destabilized 3 neighboring regions, she said. Escalation paths project significant spillover. We prefer containment. Prefer. Another polite word. Realm smiled, mistaking it for weakness. Containment is no longer an option, he said. If Earth does not choose a side, events may force your involvement regardless. Silence followed. Real silence. Not signal loss. Not delay. A deliberate absence of response that stretched just long enough to become uncomfortable. When the human spoke again, her tone hadn't changed, but the room felt smaller. Ambassador, she said, there is no scenario in which you force our involvement. A new data stream opened across the council displays. Sensor readings from the contested frontier. Our frontier. Dozens of engagements paused mid-maneuver as every fleet, on both sides, registered the same anomaly. Space folded inward, not violently but precisely, like fabric pinched between careful fingers. A human construct appeared, not a ship but an installation, vast, skeletal, incomplete. It hadn't arrived. It had been assembled in place. "This is a stabilizer," the human explained. "Prototype. It will prevent further large-scale fleet actions within a radius of 5 light-years." General Herrick shouted. Threats followed. The human let him finish. "We are not entering your war," she said. "We are removing it from our vicinity." I stood and told them to stop. No one listened. Orders were given. Weapons locked. The stabilizer pulsed once. Every targeting system in the chamber went dark. The human ship above Earth finally moved. Not toward us. Away. Panic is loud but comprehension is quiet. After the stabilizer pulse, the chamber filled with shouting, diagnostics, accusations of sabotage. Engineers swore the systems were intact. Commanders demanded redundancies be activated. Nothing responded. Our fleets hadn't been destroyed. That was the worst part. They were simply irrelevant. Locked in place by rules they could no longer interact with. Emergency reports poured in from the frontier. The stabilizer didn't jam weapons or disable engines. It redefined permissible outcomes. Any action that resulted in fleet-scale violence failed to resolve, like a thought that refused to finish forming. Missiles would not arm. Firing sequences returned null states. Even collisions gently corrected themselves, ships nudged aside by invisible margins of error. The war had been turned off. General Herrick called it an act of war. He demanded retaliation. Against what no one could say. The human ship was gone, leaving no wake, no measurable transition. Earth's orbit was empty again as if the warning had never been issued. I requested access to the deeper sensor archives, the ones restricted to autonomous defense intelligences. What I found made my hands tremble. The stabilizer was not human technology. It was older. Human engineering notes were layered on top of something pre-existing, something vast and unfinished that had been dormant in the fabric of local space. Humans hadn't built it from scratch. They had found it, repaired it, improved it, like discovering a broken planetary engine and deciding to tune it instead of worship it. A delayed transmission arrived from Ambassador Realm, or what remained of him. His shuttle had not been attacked. It had been redirected. He now orbited a gas giant on the far edge of our territory, alive, unharmed, and very quiet. The message was short. "They showed me the archive," he said. "The long one." He didn't elaborate. The Council demanded explanations from Earth. None came. Trade lanes resumed functioning under new constraints. Battles simply refused to happen near the stabilizer's influence. Crews reported a strange sensation when attempting hostile actions, like trying to shout underwater. Morale collapsed. Not from fear of death, but from the realization that choice itself had been limited. I finally understood the older records. The vanished fleets. The missing probes. Earth had never been avoiding conflict zones out of caution. They were curating them. Monitoring instability the way gardeners watch invasive growth. Wars were not immoral to them. They were inefficient. A junior analyst asked me if the humans planned to expand the stabilizer field. I told her the truth. They wouldn't need to. We would do it for them. Borders would shift. Strategies would adapt. Conflicts would move away from Sol without anyone issuing the order. Power like that doesn't conquer. It reorganizes. And the most terrifying part was this. They had done all of it without anger, without spectacle, without ever once raising their voice. They hadn't dragged Earth into our war. We had dragged our war into Earth's workspace. The war ended 3 days later. Not with a treaty ceremony or a decisive victory, but with administrative exhaustion. Fleets withdrew because they had nothing left to do. Generals resigned because strategy no longer applied. The stabilizer field remained silent and impartial, enforcing a version of peace no one had voted for. Earth never commented on the outcome. They didn't need to. The absence of further interference was statement enough. I was asked to draft the official conclusion. I declined. Instead, I submitted my retirement request and returned to my residence overlooking the inner transit lanes. From there, I could watch ships move again, carefully, politely, like guests aware they were in someone else's home. Commerce resumed. Borders hardened. Everyone pretended this had been a lesson learned rather than a boundary imposed. One final message arrived from Earth a week later. Not addressed to the Council. Addressed to me. "You were correct," it read. "Thank you for trying." Attached was a technical package. Navigation refinements. Energy efficiency improvements. Minor upgrades by human standards, I suspect. To us, they advanced propulsion theory by decades. No demands. No conditions. A courtesy. Like compensating a neighbor for the inconvenience of construction noise. The stabilizer deactivated shortly after. Not dismantled. Simply dormant again, folded back into the underlying architecture of space. Earth did not reclaim it. They didn't need to. The knowledge that it could be reactivated was sufficient. The line around Seoul was redrawn in every navigational database, marked with increasingly creative warning symbols. Here be dragons felt insufficient. Here be custodians was closer. Sometimes I replay the council recordings. I watch our faces as we mistake politeness for vulnerability, restraint for weakness. I recognize that version of myself, the one who still believed power announced itself loudly. Humans taught us otherwise. True power speaks once, softly, and then rearranges the environment so disobedience becomes impractical. I sit on my balcony at night and watch the stars. Occasionally, something moves wrong across the sky. Too smooth. Too deliberate. I don't report it. There's no point. Whatever it is, it's working. People ask me now why Earth never joined our war, never claimed territory, never demanded tribute. I tell them the simplest answer. We were never the conflict. We were the background noise. Earth didn't want allies. They wanted quiet. And when they asked politely and we ignored them, they didn't punish us. They adjusted us. Like technicians correcting a malfunctioning system rather than enemies crushing a rival. I warned them not to drag Earth into our war. They didn't listen. Earth listened just fine.